On this edition for Sunday, August 23rd, on the eve of the Republican National Convention, the president announces an emergency authorization for treatment for COVID-19. More wildfires in California and wild weather in the Gulf.
We don't have any government. The government doesn't care. It's us.
And concerns over international aid to Beirut in the wake of the port explosion. Next on PBS NewsHour Weekend.
PBS NewsHour Weekend is made possible by Sue and Edgar Wachenheim III, the Anderson Family Fund, Bernard and Denise Schwartz, the Cheryl and Philip Milstein family, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg, Charles Rosenblum. We try to live in the moment to not miss what's right in front of us. At Mutual of America, we believe taking care of tomorrow can help you make the most of today. Mutual of America Financial Group, retirement services and investments.
For 25 years, Consumer Cellular has been offering no-contract wireless plans designed to help people do more of what they like. Our U.S.-based customer service team can help find a plan that fits you. To learn more, visit consumercellular.tv.
Additional support has been provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. President Trump held a news conference late today to announce what he promoted as a breakthrough. Just this week, the president criticized the Food and Drug Administration for what he suggested were politically motivated delays in approving vaccines and medications for COVID-19. There is no evidence of that. Today, he announced that the FDA has approved the emergency authorization for convalescent plasma as a therapeutic treatment.
This is a powerful therapy that transfuses very, very strong antibodies from the blood of recovered patients to help treat patients battling a current infection. It's had an incredible rate of success. Today's action will dramatically expand access to this treatment.
Blood plasma from recovering COVID-19 patients has been given to more than 70,000 patients in the U.S. Scientists have said evidence the treatment works is inconclusive and have questioned the best way to administer it. Both Health and Human Services Secretary Alex Azar and FDA Commissioner Stephen Hahn stood beside the president and said that studies and data back up the claims that the treatment works.
So in the independent judgment of experts and expert scientists at FDA who have reviewed the totality of data, not just the data from this expanded access program, but more than a dozen published studies, as well as the historical experience associated with this, those scientists have concluded that COVID-19 convalescent plasma is safe and shows promising efficacy, thereby meeting the criteria for an emergency use authorization.
Joining me now is Caroline Chen with ProPublica. First, how big of a breakthrough is this?
So, unfortunately, I wouldn't really call this a huge breakthrough. I know we all at this point really want there to be a massive breakthrough in terms of having a therapeutic for COVID-19. I would really love that. But at this point, through the Mayo Clinic, more than 60,000 patients have received plasma, and through what's called an expanded access program. That's what the Mayo Clinic has been running, and that's where most of this data has come. And so Commissioner Hahn said that there maybe have been some promising signs. The fact is that tens of thousands of patients have received plasma at this point, and it hasn't been sort of massively life-saving to the point that it's really a huge game changer where we would really call it a massive breakthrough.
Two things. What are you comparing the better effects to, and what exactly are the better effects? Is it for all of the patients or is it for a subsection?
Yeah, so this is what is a little bit tricky and unclear when you just throw out a percentage number and say, you know, it's whatever percent better. The question is, what are you actually comparing to? And so the biggest data set that is available right now is from that Mayo Clinic program. And it wasn't what's called a randomized controlled study, which is the gold standard, where you give half the patients or a certain portion of the patients plasma and a certain portion of placebo. This was not compared that way. What happened is that everybody got plasma, and they compared patients who got plasma within 3 days of their diagnosis, so early on, versus patients who got plasma later on in their diagnosis. And what they were able to say was that it appeared that patients who got plasma earlier on in their diagnosis did better and had a better outcome in terms of mortality, which means that they had a better survival chance than patients who got plasma later on. So it seemed that plasma was helping, but this is not the same as really doing the gold standard, which is a placebo-controlled trial.
So that means you're comparing it to giving somebody, well, not plasma, and then having it totally blind and knowing that this group got the sort of intended drug that you want to see an effect to, and this group did not.
Right. So we don't have a really big randomized controlled trial where we really know the effects of plasma. And it's actually striking. I'll read this to you. In the documents that the FDA sent out tonight, along with the authorization, this is in some documents that are sent out to clinicians to explain to them, how do you use plasma? It's interesting because it says here, actually in bold wording, it says, given that the clinical evidence supporting this emergency use authorization was not obtained from prospective, well-controlled randomized clinical trials, so what we're talking about, it says additional randomized controlled trials are needed. So it says convalescent plasma should not be considered a new standard of care for the treatment of patients with COVID-19, and ongoing clinical trials of convalescent plasma should not be amended based on the issuance of the EUA. So providers are encouraged to enroll patients in these ongoing clinical trials. So what the FDA is saying here is basically that the data so far is promising enough that they believe that it's at least safe for patients, that they're going to issue this authorization, but they're really encouraging that these trials continue because we do need to actually get the answer from the gold standard trials.
What is the day-to-day consequence when a procedure or a specific medication gets emergency use authorization?
Yeah, so right now, because plasma has not been authorized for use for COVID-19, basically the only way that a patient can get it is via a clinical trial or via an expanded access program like through the Mayo Clinic. So the consequence of this is that it will be easier for patients to receive this. So let's say you're in a small hospital that's not part of an academic hospital and you can't get access to a trial. It will be easier for patients to get access to plasma, which is a good thing for patients if you presume that, like the FDA is saying, it is both safe and has promise. So if the presumption is that plasma has a benefit, having emergency use authorization is great for patients because it's easier for them to access it. The downside, though, is that if we still have some doubts as to whether or not there actually is benefit to it, and we want to do actual trials, right? You can imagine that it's going to be much harder now for scientists to recruit patients to trials. Because if I'm a patient, why would I want to sign up for a trial and potentially get a placebo when it's now available to me without me having to sign up for a trial, and I don't have to run the risk of getting a placebo because it's already been authorized and it's on the market? So I actually imagine it's now going to be much harder for the scientists running clinical trials to get a definitive answer as to whether or not plasma actually works.
All right. Caroline Chen, ProPublica, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
The president and many Republicans said today that they will not support legislation that reverses changes at the U.S. Postal Service and allocates $25 billion in additional funding. Yesterday, the House of Representatives passed a bill Democrats say will help the Postal Service handle mail-in balloting this fall. More than 24 Republicans also backed the bill, which passed 257 to 150. The Republican majority Senate is not expected to consider the bill. President Trump continued to attack mail-in voting, which caused Twitter to flag one of his tweets with a warning. The president called drop boxes for ballots a, quote, voter security disaster that make it possible for a person to vote multiple times, unquote. There is no evidence of that. In New York City today, Minority Leader Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer said a newly created bipartisan election mail committee will report on election resources and hold Postmaster General Louis DeJoy accountable.
This report will serve as a check on Mr. DeJoy. And we have asked this governor, Lee Moak, to deliver it in 2 weeks and outline exactly how November election mail will be delivered on time. And if not, what should be done about it.
What was Tropical Storm Marco is now a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, headed for the Louisiana coast. And right behind Marco, Tropical Storm Laura is also headed that way. Marco passed the Yucatan Peninsula yesterday and gained strength to Category 1 hurricane this afternoon as winds reached 75 miles per hour. The National Hurricane Center is warning that Marco could bring life-threatening storm surge and hurricane-force winds to Louisiana by tomorrow night. Yesterday, Tropical Storm Laura crossed Puerto Rico, where it downed power lines and trees with wind gusts of up to 70 miles per hour. Overnight, the storm passed the Dominican Republic, where officials warned of flooding from 4 to 8 inches of rainfall. Laura may also become a hurricane as it crosses into the Gulf of Mexico on a track towards Louisiana and Mississippi. According to records kept since at least 1900, 2 hurricanes have never formed in the Gulf of Mexico simultaneously. Fire officials in Northern California are bracing for more dry thunderstorms today, a week after lightning started some of the largest wildfires in the state's history. The 3 largest fire complexes, each consisting of multiple wildfires, have burned more than 1,100 square miles as of this morning. Across the state, there are now more than 13,000 firefighters working to contain the blazes in Northern California. Tens of thousands of people have been evacuated, more than 700 structures have been burned, and at least 5 people are dead. On Saturday, President Trump issued a major disaster declaration to provide federal aid. Activists in the Louisiana city of Lafayette say they will continue to demand racial justice in the wake of police shooting and killing a black man who had a knife on Friday night. Police used tear gas to clear protesters after some set off fireworks and set fires in the street last night. The protest started peacefully Saturday afternoon, with activists calling for justice in the killing of 31-year-old Trayford Pellerin. He was shot and killed by police as he was trying to enter a convenience store with a knife. Police said stun guns failed to stop Pellerin. In a statement, the Louisiana State ACLU condemned the shooting, which was captured on cell phone video, saying Pellerin was moving away from officers and that it was another, quote, horrific and deadly incident of police violence against a black person who was brutally killed in front of our eyes. More protests are planned for this evening. New cases and deaths from COVID-19 continue to decrease across the U.S., but some states, including several in the Midwest, are seeing new infections increase. The New York Times database shows an average of 43,710 new cases per day. That's a decrease of 19% from the average 2 weeks earlier. As of this morning, the novel coronavirus has infected more than 5.6 million people in the U.S., and more than 176,000 have died. Globally, Johns Hopkins University reports more than 23 million confirmed cases as of today and 805,000 deaths. The streets of Minsk, the capital of Belarus, were filled once again today with anti-government protesters. In the city's central square, more than 100,000 people gathered to call for the resignation of the country's authoritarian leader, Alexander Lukashenko. Belarus has seen massive protests in the 2 weeks since Lukashenko claimed a landslide victory in a presidential election that many viewed as rigged. Lukashenko has blamed Western interference for the unrest and accused NATO of amassing forces on the country's western border, which the alliance denies. As protests continued today, Lukashenko has been defiant, seen on state TV exiting a helicopter, wearing a bulletproof vest and holding a rifle. For more on the events and speakers at this week's Republican National Convention, visit pbs.org/newshour. Last week, Democrats wrapped up their unconventional political convention without the traditional crowds and hoopla, but with sharp attacks on the record and character of the sitting president. Tomorrow, it's the Republicans' turn, with some in-person events and a small group of GOP delegates heading to Charlotte, North Carolina to rally their support for the president, who promises to make a speech each evening. Still, new revelations and allegations continue to confront him and his record. Special correspondent Jeff Greenfield joins us from Santa Barbara, California. Jeff, before we get to the tapes, so to speak, your thoughts on the convention that just happened?
I was struck by the degree to which the Democrats were embracing the idea of diversity, who they showed, and how they showed them, unapologetically in the streets, organizing, protesting, activism. And I think that's a consequence of numbers. The Democratic Party is far more diverse than it was, say, when Bill Clinton became president. 40% of registered Democrats are non-white. And when you add to that the gender gap, which is a chasm, right now Trump leads men by 13 points, Biden leads women by 25. They were doubling down on saying, we need you, the core of our party, to get involved, and we're not going to make any apologies for it. We're not going to be hesitant about it. This is who we are.
At times, it felt a bit like a pledge drive because there were so many calls to sign up to become a donor. And then there was also an incredibly consistent message to just get people to vote. And we're still a couple of months away.
No, that's right. And it's kind of odd. Will they love me in November as they do in August? But here's what researchers have known for decades. The more you can ask a voter to think about how she will vote, mail, in person, what time, the more likely they are to vote. And there are painful memories of 4 years ago. Some Democrats said, well, Hillary's going to win. We can not show up. Maybe we'll vote third party. There was a clear fall off in the African-American vote in key cities that helped turn some of the states in the upper Midwest to Trump by a tiny margin. And when you add to that the fears of voter suppression, of skullduggery, of maybe the mail screwing up, they want that message out early and often.
So let's shift gears to what's coming up this week. In true unconventional form, the president is planning to address the nation every night of his convention.
First of all, they're going to try to make it look a little more like a real convention. There are a few hundred delegates down in Charlotte that will formally nominate. Trump will be speaking to audiences. And you're right, this is unprecedented. Presidents usually show up every night to just wave and say, hi, I'll see you Thursday night. But apparently the president means to talk every night in prime time. He appears to be convinced that the more he is on television, whether in the coronavirus so-called briefings or this, the better he will do. And we also know that speaking into a camera, like an Oval Office address, that is not Trump's best format, to be very kind about it. So we're going to hear from him and his family, or, well, not everybody in his family, but that's going to be what we're going to hear for the next 4 nights.
Based on the tapes that were made public through the Washington Post last night, I suspect the president's sister is not going to have a marquee role.
Yeah, and the amazing thing is that was the end of a week, any one story of which would have, in other times, just blown the whole political spectrum apart. The Postmaster General is being called to Congress and saying, are you trying to mess with the mails for political reasons? The Senate Intelligence Committee, controlled by Republicans, says, not only was Russia trying to interfere, but a senior Trump campaign official was sharing poll data with a Russian intelligence official. Then the president's former senior strategist, Steve Bannon, is arrested by postal authorities, by the way, on a huge yacht. And then we have the tapes of the president's sister, the retired federal judge, who was basically saying he's a liar, he's unprincipled, and somebody else took his exam. And what you have to realize, we've seen this now for 5 years, it's the sheer quantity of all these allegations that somehow almost cancel each other out. And his supporters say, well, more fake news.
Yeah. And this is just August. What kinds of October surprises or closer to the election could we possibly see?
Well, there's one that we just learned yesterday. NASA says an asteroid is headed toward Earth, and there is a 0.4% chance, I'm not making this up, Harry, that it will strike the Earth the day before the election. And if I'm a betting man, I'm going to take those odds, given what we've lived through so far.
Jeff, that sounds like a great reason to vote early.
Very good point, Harry.
Jeff Greenfield joining us from Santa Barbara, California. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Millions of dollars in international aid has been promised to help assist Beirut, Lebanon in the wake of this month's port explosion, which killed nearly 200, maimed thousands, and displaced hundreds of thousands. The country was already reeling from a collapsing economy, civil unrest, and claims of corruption. NewsHour Weekend special correspondent Layla Milana Allen reports that trust in the government is waning, and to help rebuild, some are taking matters into their own hands.
The government is not here, is not anywhere, is not present. Only Lebanese people, students, elderly people, youth, we are building the country.
The day after the blast, volunteers gathered in Mar Mikhail, one of Beirut's worst-hit neighborhoods, to register victims' needs, distribute aid, and plan how to rebuild. They're now getting 3,000 or 4,000 volunteers daily, helping up to 15,000 people each day. These young people are repurposing skills like party organizing to coordinate a widespread humanitarian emergency response. 30-year-old Maroun lost his own home and office, and 3 of his closest friends were killed. He's been working 20-hour days for more than 2 weeks.
And you're getting no government funding?
And we will not take anything from them. We don't want them. We just want them to leave. And we will take care of the country.
For nearly a year, activists like these have taken to the streets, demanding the downfall of a political system they see as corrupt and self-serving. Now, they're demanding that any aid coming into the country go directly to them and local NGOs. It's the networks forged during the protest movement that have allowed them to respond so quickly and effectively to this crisis. They say they've learned they can't depend on anyone but each other.
Every single person in this government is a crook. They destroyed our past, they destroyed our present, and they are destroying our future.
The grassroots effort extends beyond Lebanon's borders. They've been working with Lebanese expats around the world to get aid and medical supplies into the country manually until the slow-moving wheels of NGO bureaucracy turn.
So this is the aid, as you can see. This is from London. Okay. And you can see the more and more of aids are coming.
So a community fundraises locally, then one person buys a plane ticket, they get on a plane, and they bring as many suitcases as they can carry.
While we're there, a representative from the US Embassy turns up.
Don't bail them out. Don't bail them out. To us. We're distributing it. Don't bail them out.
So this is why it's important to come down here to the ground and see.
Thank you so much.
It's very important.
The next day, it becomes clear why. Undersecretary David Hale has come from Washington to look at how to get Lebanon back on its feet. And just hours after landing, it's not the government he's meeting with.
We don't have any government. The government doesn't care. It's us. We're here for each other.
And this should be a transition.
We are the government.
That's why this is my first stop for that very reason.
The operation, dubbed Min Taht al-Radam, from beneath the rubble, is a tall order, and these young people may end up over-promising. While international aid organizations may be unwieldy and have to work around political concerns, they have experience managing big sums of money and mechanisms to get hard cash into the country quickly. These volunteers say foreign governments and NGOs should be working with them.
This is the first time we see these people coming and checking on organizations and walking around people, asking people. Usually they only meet up with the government. So maybe this will change.
Like many international donors, the United States has taken a hard line on aid to Lebanon, saying they won't let any money fall into corrupt hands. But that's easier said than done. And while they say they won't funnel money through the government, they're still working with increasingly unpopular state institutions.
Because we have tons of meals ready to eat, and the army is helping us distribute them.
Across Beirut, food has been the fastest response in the relief effort, with the WFP and USAID working to get Beirut port up and running enough to receive some deliveries.
You know, part of the key messages that we sent and we were repeating is that we will not accept for aid to be politicized. At the end of the day, we are here to ensure that the people in need get the aid.
But many of those people say the aid they're receiving isn't what they need. They don't want bags of food, an easy win for NGOs because it can be distributed fast and looks good to donors, but cash to rebuild their homes and businesses. Just a few streets away is Karantina, one of Beirut's poorest neighborhoods. The area was ravaged by the blast. Residents say they've long been neglected and still aren't getting the help they need.
Every day they bring 2 boxes, 3 boxes, but we don't want food aid. A lot has been distributed and people are throwing it away. We need people to send money to rebuild the house.
Nabil's house used to have 4 walls. Now it has just 2, and those are cracked beyond repair. He tells us it's even worse upstairs, but it's too dangerous to take us up there.
So Nabil, this used to be your kitchen, and the entire wall collapsed outward into the street.
I was getting a half salary, then it became a quarter salary, 1 work, 1 day no work, and then this. We are broke, 0. We have nothing. We can't rebuild. We have money in the bank, but they won't give it to us.
Nabil's neighbours are refusing to move out, even as cranes come to remove what's left of the building's roof. They're scared to leave in case developers swoop in and level the area to build new high-rises in this prime seafront location. Unless this community gets a cash injection, and soon, they're out of options. A short walk away is the deformed structure that's at the heart of this crisis. Not just the explosion, but the years of mismanagement that allowed it to happen and bled so much money to corruption that Lebanon was already on its knees when the disaster hit. Beirut Port. Riyad Kobeisi is a Lebanese investigative journalist who's been digging into corruption at the port and airport for years. He's been arbitrarily arrested, repeatedly threatened, and beaten to a pulp for trying to reveal what goes on in the shadows of these shipping crates.
There's like a famous slogan here at the port. Whenever Mr. Benjamin Franklin is there, problems are solved because this is not a government. This is a mafia.
That's because the port is run like another public authority, the parliament. Each position is reserved for a particular religious sect, and they're linked to political factions. They choose who they want for each job, and then those people take bribes, both to smuggle goods in and to avoid import taxes, draining vital state revenue. It's estimated up to $2 billion a year are lost just from Beirut Port. Hundreds of millions of dollars in donations have poured in since the blast, but it caused an estimated $15 billion in damages to the city. And with political factions holding tight to their control of the only entry points for bringing in aid, each will likely take a cut of the pie. For Nabil and others like him, despair is setting in as they realize they may not get the help they need.
It's the first time I've cried. I've lived here through the bombardment, through 30 years of war. If the house can't be repaired, what can I do? There's no future for us.
The last 2 decades have seen an increase in the number and intensity of both wildfires, like those currently burning in California, and tropical storms, with this year's hurricane season on track to be one of the busiest on record. I recently spoke with Andrew Friedman, editor for the Capital Weather Gang at The Washington Post, about how climate change is contributing to this growth and what can be done about it.
Climate change is having a very clear and significant impact on wildfire size, wildfire patterns in California. And you're seeing more extreme fire behavior now than you did before. So we're seeing more unpredictable conditions on fire lines. It's more dangerous for firefighters. We're seeing more weird things like fire tornadoes, for example. All of this points in the direction of having more extreme fire days.
It's hard for people to imagine that a 0.5 degree or 1 degree change in the climate makes these things worse. How is it connected?
When you look at what it does, if you shift the probability distribution of extreme events, you are dramatically increasing the odds of extreme heat events. So heat waves being more frequent, more severe, longer lasting. Some experts that I was speaking to about this event were saying that it kind of made temperatures across California at least 2 to 4 degrees Fahrenheit above what it would have been without climate change. So this is just tilting the odds in favor of these types of events even more than you would expect from just a little over a 1 degree Fahrenheit increase in temperature.
Taking that 0.5 degree or 1 degree and putting all of that energy, for example, into the ocean changes the potential for storms. And we're living through, at least this year, a very active tropical storm and hurricane season already.
Yeah, it's a record season for tropical storm season in the Atlantic already. And part of that is due to natural climate variability, which favors a multi-decadal string of active seasons, but not all of it. The Atlantic sea surface temperatures are so much warmer than average right now that part of that is due to climate change. So instead of giving just regular gasoline to these storms, you're essentially giving them rocket fuel, where if atmospheric conditions are right, they will rapidly intensify and potentially catch coastal residents off guard.
It's great for swimmers to be able to get into warmer water, but pretty much otherwise the entire ecosystem in the water changes. I mean, you've got kind of the surface level concern on the tropical storms, and then you've got what's happening beneath. That's also affected.
You know, one of the things that's been happening is an increased frequency and severity of marine heat waves. So we think of heat waves on land, but they're actually occurring in the water as well. And we've been seeing that especially off the east coast of the US this year. Fish that normally you'd see, off the coast of Florida are showing up in Cape Cod and Fire Island.
How much can we actually do to mitigate the changes that we are seeing and also living through? Because we've seen these forecasts that there is a limited amount of time where we cross some sort of a tipping point where it doesn't matter if we could possibly get it down to 0.5 degree lower or 1 degree lower.
Climate change really isn't about some cliff that you fall off of. There's always choices that we can make. Top scientists that I speak with are always saying, it's really about what kind of consequences in terms of how severe we want them to be. That determines when we start making the changes in terms of cutting greenhouse gas emissions and how significantly we make those cuts. If we do it earlier, it's cheaper to do, and the consequences are less severe a couple of decades down the road.
Andrew Friedman of the Washington Post, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
NewsHour's live coverage of the Republican National Convention will be on air and online from 8 until 11 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Thursday this week. That's all for this edition of PBS NewsHour Weekend. For the latest news updates, visit pbs.org/newshour. I'm Hari Srinivasan. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy and have a good night.
PBS NewsHour Weekend is made possible by Sue and Edgar Wachenheim III, the Anderson Family Fund, Bernard and Denise Schwartz, the Cheryl and Philip Milstein family, Barbara Hope Zuckerberg, Charles Rosenblum. We try to live in the moment to not miss what's right in front of us. At Mutual of America, we believe taking care of tomorrow can help you make the most of today. Mutual of America Financial Group, retirement services and investments. Additional support has been provided by Consumer Cellular and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people. And by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.